Dear viewers of Smart 24 TV, welcome back in the second session as we go on with the point discussing politics and economics. Our concern in our current situation of the economic crisis, as we are terming it, you know, for you it may be economic crisis, but for you it's not an economic crisis.
It is general. It's a general one.
Is it general?
It is general.
But some are demonstrating and you have not demonstrated.
We demonstrate silence.
You are saying
they are religious.
Yes.
They are religious. So, dear guests, as we bring that note, by the way, a joke, we are trying to just get a chew of stress. But the truth of the matter, there is a serious economic crisis. And those whose income indeed is not stable, honorable, it's a challenging moment where you used to buy a soap of 3,500 and now it is 7,000 and 8,000. It's really a serious concern. And you are workers MP, as we go on with our discussion, analyzing your impact as our representative of all workers, of many citizens who are working. It is something that is not yet settled, much as we had the kind of economic and political direction the president was giving through his speech. And these are some of the concerns in a midst crisis like this and others. And at a time when we have what we are referring, the way how people are earning, the minimum, there was a proposal of the minimum wage bill. Because the minimum wage bill, vis-a-vis with the current economic situation, we have organization, including his, she has a company. She may be employing around like 20 people. And now in a time of economic crisis, they stay at 200,000, 100,000. There are some people, I'm not meaning yours, you find the payment is quite miserable. And you remember when we were going for the break, I said workers need to be protected wherever they are. In moments like this, you mentioned of the Compensation and Safety Act, but we are looking at how this is being effected. I mean, it's another story. As you talked about COVID, during the time of COVID, most of our workers, they lost jobs, and there was even no compensation. And the law was in place, but now the whole statement was, we are in a global economic crisis. What is the minimum standard that can be able to stabilize this kind of situation? In time of crisis, how a worker should be protected.
Thank you. I think, rightly put, I must say, much as the legal infrastructure is existing, implementation has been a very big challenge. For example, in advocating for rights of workers, we have, like you mentioned, we have the labor officers who are in the districts, but I think they have a right even to visit in a workplace at any time, including at night, 24/7. But are they doing the right thing? That's another question. When you talk of the issue of, I think I must appreciate the fact that I think the skyrocketing prices are a challenge to the nationals. Okay, we would call them the workers. But these are issues that must be addressed. We need to have a clear strategy, clear development paradigm that can actually help out. You see, in most of these things, there should be expertise. At least engage at expert level discussion. When she's talking about profiling and ensuring that at least investment, guiding on enterprises, I think she wields knowledge in this. But the challenge is that I think it is in the issue of identification. Who handles what? That is very important. In this, I think when the government came up with the Paris development model, we realized that it's one of the things that can actually help. One, for example, in the case of, we talked of the bar of soap being at 7,000. What are we doing in our household? Can't we skill people so that they can actually make a bowl of soap? Does it require rocket science to make even things like a liquid soap? You see, the challenge we have is that, one, we consume what we do not produce. And I must say, then we produce what we do not consume. That's a very big challenge. And then, of course, we do most of these things in moderation. That's what Mr. Museveni talks of, called a rakida chonka, a concept in eastern Uganda. The people are just saying, we are now, I think he was he's advocating for commercialization of agriculture. This is very important, because what I must say is that when our production capacity brings in a lot in terms of export portfolio, it can help us. But of course, there is a very big mismatch between the imports and exports. That's a very big challenge. How many people are at production? This is the tendency we are talking about. We produce not for commercial, but just for self-sustenance. Even though I think I normally ask people questions. How much maize do you need to move on with the family? I think when you do that, they call you a witch. This man has even, I think these people who go to school are menace. He has even started counting food. I think so. Unless we have a paradigm, unless we have a concept that translates into production, that sustains into solving a problem, it would help. Then the other thing, I think as the elite, a very big challenge. Because instead of identifying the challenge and coming up with solutions, you find that our virtual space is filled with a lot of trash, a lot of irrelevance. Doros has done this. This is Joseph. But what's the solution?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
In amidst this, because under those who work, and after that we come to you, just I'll give it 2 minutes or 3. Those who go for work, even those who are in labor unions, there's a time they go for strike. Yes. And the strike is a right. Others, and it's peaceful one, how they do it, as it is regulated. They go also for demonstration of their discontentment. Yes. Why is it that, like the situation we are in amidst that, because we want to protect the workers, even those who are registered, those who are not registered. A person in the likes of Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye rises up and say, I want to express my displeasure, and I want us also to express our displeasure. We don't destroy anyone's property. We want to go and work, and we express our discontentment. We say, people, there's a sky rocketing of commodities, prices for commodities. And as a member of parliament, the gesture of the police to arrest, to do all that brutal kind of treatment to an armed citizen, and above all a senior citizen, whom can from that draw a discussion at a level of either dialogue and thrown into the vehicle, all that, is it really working out for the best of this country in terms of protecting every right of any citizen?
Thank you very much. I must first of all say that I'm one of the human rights activists. And even in the Constitution, Articles 24, we are talking about rights. But I think most of these things, like any entity, even the Malwa group has its own rules and regulations. But me, to the contrary, I think I feel there are ways that we can handle most of these challenges. Me, per se, I think what I normally do, I encourage people, even among the workers. When I tell them, I think you people, ladies and gentlemen, we can engage in economic and gainful activities because salary alone may not be sufficient. Let's advocate for our enhancement, but when we get it, can't we really have a fallback position? They will tell you, oh, I think how is that related to workers' issues? And you ask, look at this. And yet, we miss a point because we are the people who have the technical skills. We are the people who should be the vanguards of development. We should actually lead by example, so that at least at the end of the day, our economy can actually grow. And it's a similar mistake in our communities that we make. You will find that I think agriculture, for example, is left to the women. The triple burden of women, you will find a woman carrying firewood, going to the garden, come back, carry the goat, take to the bush, water. I think there should be collective participation.
I'm drawing the point of the fighting of the rights of workers, because it's constitutional, and in the Labor Union Act, the right to demonstrate, the right to strike, the right to industrial action. Yes. And I brought a point which is now a national discussion, and I have got an opportunity to have you when you are a member of parliament. I can be dissatisfied my own way, and I want to express my displeasure. Either I am a worker in an institution or personally, like how what is happening. The kind of treatment offered to people who demonstrate in this country in this line of the work responding to the situation is quite brutal, is quite as if like when you do make a demonstration, a peaceful demonstration, as if like you have become a terrorist. All Ugandans, we are shocked the way how Dr. Kiza Besigye was treated as our field worker.
Well, I think, Joseph, what I would like to say is that, one, the brutality doesn't actually arise, because I think somebody should exhaust all avenues and maybe be guided. If you find Joseph maybe walking naked, say, hey, Joseph, why don't you cover yourself with a bed sheet? Or why don't you dress properly? I think that's important. But on the other hand, we need to look for practical solutions. With the advocacy, with the demonstrations, or the like, I think I normally tell people, what is this? What's the solution to the challenge that we are in? Somebody will tell you, it is the war between Russia and Ukraine. Then I ask a question. Supposing a war in Ukraine ends tomorrow, shall everything come to normalance? Shall we have all the prices go down? I think we need to have, it's about having resilience plans, and then ensure that who are the key stakeholders, what is the analysis of the skyrocketing prices? If you don't have a solution, then you'll find that at least you don't have answers, which are satisfactory. I think this is the way we need to go. You find that now, if we all said let's actually demonstrate because of skyrocketing prices, does it bring down the prices? Me, I would rather think the best approach is to ensure that at least we skill the people, we look at the industries. First of all, we actually identify properly the underlying causes and analyze.
Honorable, let me chip
Yes.
into your discussion.
Yes.
We have seen situations where the teachers feel discontented and they say they're pulling down their tools. Yes. And the president does a gesture to say, we want to arrange a meeting to meet you and possibly propose what you want to propose. Why is it not done to other citizens? Why go? Because I didn't want to go to that debate, but it's important because it's dealing with the rights of workers. Why go and incarcerate someone? And maybe you think it's political. To me, as you were saying, part of the negotiation tools we are talking about, and we are talking of all workers, even those who are not registered. If maybe something is generating a concern, I think this is my appeal through you. There should be to generate a dialogue and with these either discontented groups, other than opening up a space to go for running battles. Because indeed, as you said, we are all Ugandans and we should always come to a table to negotiate. Maybe,
Dr. Joseph, I want to say the example you are giving is hypothetical and has a mismatch. Because when the teachers are asking for salary enhancement, what will they quote? They will quote, we have a collective bargaining agreement. And the collective bargaining agreement, in 2015, you promised that we shall be at this level. Yes. But basically, you say that I think the economy could not allow at that time. Now we feel something can actually be done. Then they will tell you, we are maybe doing this under our union. Under ILO Convention 154, we are allowed to do this. Under ILO Convention this, we are supposed to do this. But in this particular case, of course, if Joseph wants to demonstrate, they are saying you can seek police order. When you have it, I think then you can be able to do that.
I'm supposed to notify them even.
I think. So we don't know. And let me tell you one thing, the other thing, arbitrarily, if you have a home, you make regulations. I think even in a Malwa group, there should be regulations. And let me tell you, I think we miss a point at times. We've had elections in Kenya, we have elections in Tanzania and other countries. But the challenge we have, Uganda is the only place where we can have elections and have a similar tension. People feel should actually, maybe when we have at LOC one, that one shouldn't. A lot of intrigue will come in. A lot of this will come in. What we need to do is to align the people. I'm talking from the practical point. For me, when I find a solution, I found out a solution, people actually were lacking proper inputs. She will have asked her to visit. Then I said, what can we do? We started the research.
Okay.
The research which we started actually, one, there was Dr. Peter Selle. They started what they call the puri-puri. This sorghum can actually do well, then that one is done. Then what can help our people? They need planting material. Let's start a nursery. But you find that somebody who doesn't even have a seedling is the one to agitate. Then of course now what we do, the country belongs to us. We need practical solutions. I want to see, skyrocket, the economy is bad, I'm giving seedlings to the farmers.
Oh,
the economy is bad.
You already don't have anything. And the very
but if you don't have anything, then you're not actually empowered to talk.
Okay,
you wait for those people who have it to talk.
Thank you, Honorable.
Because of course, we learn from the positives.
Thank you, Honorable.
Yeah. So, for example, what are you teaching the people?
There's one who said that the poor will not go, but I'm not quoting you. And he said that the poor will not
but
go.
But what I'm saying, there are so many practical solutions as they are Uganda.
I'm coming to you. There's another one also who said I'm reserving names for purpose of their prominence. that if you don't have soap, or go get something else to use to wash. It's called what? These herbs. So please, as you're talking about the practical solutions, but there should also be some middle ground. Come on, please, madam. Thank you, Honorable.
You see, before she comes on board,
yes.
What I've been doing before even I became a leader, I think I could try to keep what I could say. Now, what do you do? Like she has told me, she helps people with enterprises. She helps people with cooperatives. Then I take that idea to the people. When we come together, we can get money. When they skill you to make soap, you can make liquid soap in your household. Because I think this model can help. It is the production unit should be the household. And I think that's why the participant development model is coming into play. So I think what we can do is look at what are the inadequacies that are in this thing.
And then we advise people appropriately. Engage you further, but you are opening my mind to think.
Yes.
Now, the government, the role of the government. You are the government. They normally say, me, I'm government. No, me, I'm not a policymaker until you make me one. I want to contest for East Africa Legislative Assembly for 1 year.
Very good.
So now, in this case, to me, the practical solution, which is maybe resonating with what you are proposing, we could now want to see in times of crisis like this, at the community development level and with that parish model, let the fund be released and right away, they go and teach people how to make soap so that in the next, whether 6 months, in the next whether 1 year, there is already an automatic promise that the soap price is going to reduce because the government has come in. Because remember, we are dealing with politics and economics. The government is the distributor of resources. And the moment, for me, a private individual, if I may make only this statement, just my humble statement, through this camera, but there are those who are managing my taxes, which I pay when I'm buying what and all that. There is something needed to be done. I will be coming back to you, but it's something I feel that we need to note. Kindly come in and give us your submission.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tindebwa. Thank you, Honorable Byakatonda. Honorable, you mentioned something that in regards to policy, you had mentioned something in regard to policy regarding harmonization of salaries. I want to mention something to do with the government salaries. We have an issue where some government workers are overpaid. I'm not going to say overpaid, are paid higher than, say, other government workers in similar positions. When others come up through their right industrial action, they have a right to it. When they come up and say, you know, we believe we should be paid equally. We should be paid equally. They shouldn't be seen as if they may be inciting, you know, violence or that it's politically motivated. Workers have issues that they really need to be brought to light. So they should be given this freedom. They should be given this freedom and not villainized for coming up to advocate for themselves. Okay? We have already a gender issue. You both, in a report in 2019, they researched and found out that men are actually paid on average 240,000, whereas women are paid for the exact same job 150,000. As a workers' MP, these are some of the issues that your constituents are really looking for you to look into. They are looking for you to be on their side and say, you know what, there shouldn't be a reason why I am a woman and I'm doing the exact same job as a man and he's getting paid almost double what I'm getting. There is no reason why I, as a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, is being paid X amount of money while the executive director, say in UNRWA, is paid Y amount of money. There should be a sort of harmonization of government salaries. Yes. This harmonization, now this is where you as a workers MP really comes in to listen to the voice of your workers. Listen to the voice of your workers. It shouldn't be seen as inciting violence. These are, teachers recently, they say science teachers should be paid X amount and other teachers. Are you trying to say that science teachers are more important than the other teachers? So until really these things are taken into consideration, the role of the workers' MPs will, yes, whereas you're doing a good job, but these are the critical issues that are ailing our workers. There are things that are really touching deep onto their hearts and which really they would appreciate you as workers' representatives, you know, to bring to light. Yes.
I think
Yes,
I would like to agree
Yes, please.
with Doris. She's spot on. Because under the ILO Convention, we talk of equal work for equal pay, without discrimination, without whatever. But of course, the other aspect came in as a result of presidential directives to say let's actually enhance science salaries for salary workers, so that we can now build the capacity. But of course, we now need to do an analysis. What's the effect? And of course, when this, like you put it, people have a right to advocate for their rights. And that is within the confines of the Constitution, the confines of the ILO conventions. And of course, the other day, I think when they were saying, oh, these ones will lose jobs, I realized that one was not actually human enough. Because under Convention 87, it says at least people have a right to industrial action, their strikes. The parameters are laid down. Then when you want it, actually ensure that at least you bring people on table through reconciliations, through arbitration, and then come up to. So I think so far we are trying, because by the time we came in, you must appreciate that one, there was no collective bargaining agreement since independence, but we have one. So I would like to urge the government so that we discuss within minimum aspects that actually provide minimum standards.
To allow negotiations
yes.
to occur.
And when there is open dialogue,
That's what I was talking about.
because now I think already those gaps will have an effect. Because you see, in management, in human resource management, we talk of motivation. There is what we call the intrinsic and extrinsic. You see, there are smaller things that can actually motivate the worker force. If you undermine them, then we may realize that much as we are doing this, the impact still is not actually being felt exactly as we would wish. So at the end of the day, because in terms of correlation, for example, you see, in management, this is a system. For example, if you went to an office and you found that the sweepers have not turned up, you may find that that place you may not actually be able to work. You may find that at least you'll be pissed off. At the end of the day, you can even say, this one, I think I'd rather go back home.
Honorable, Uganda has a challenge.
Yes.
And this challenge, which is connected to the concern raised by Madame Doris, you find the salary discrepancy and the wage gap is quite huge. You find someone tells you, me, I'm working in UGANDA, I'm a driver, and every month I get my 7 million. And someone who is a graduate and a PhD holder, even the level PhD holder, you are just struggling to get 1 million. And because if I say that, you are coming from the academy, I do so, you find that like those who are there have been some quite improvement, but now we are talking of the minimum wage bill, the salary discrepancy and the wage, huge gap. You are a KCC executive director. Because you're a KCC executive director, does that qualify you to just, have a take home of 40 million, 35 million? And yet someone down there is where the teacher is a community development officer. And above all, even if I don't talk about that, when you said something that we consume much more than we are eager to produce. In terms of money, we are consuming all this money, even it is out of borrowed money. And we are talking of like the very person who has a vehicle, that benefit of 45 million as a salary, is given an extra vehicle and one car lead, one which is of 30 million, 70 million, 100 million, and is added on a vehicle of 200 million. Don't you think that the productivity of the labor force, which is supposed to be passing through these programs, there is a mismatch. You use the word a mismatch. There is a mismatch with our talk to work and protect workers and to bring equalization vis-a-vis with what we want to do. How can we do this? Can we do better than this according to you?
I think we can. What I want to say, let's first of all have a proper review of the legal infrastructure that we have. Then what is the effect when we do the actions that are currently available. For example, now, let me give you an example. We are talking of a mechanism. I would like to say that one, under Section 3 of the Public Service Negotiating, Consultative and Dispute Settlement Machinery, gives powers of any entity to form what we call the consultative committees. These consultative committees are basically looking at issues of disputes. They're looking at issues of salary of workers. They're looking at issues of policy, when we talk of structured adjustment programs. But there is a way we intend to shortcut. Instead of going through an elaborate procedure, you find that we intend to close our eye to a number of laws, either as a result of lack of appreciation, as a result of, but I can't say ignorance, because anybody in an average office within these dockets must actually appreciate this. Because one, negotiation, dialogue, all these are issues which have been around for quite some time. So why don't we really go through? Because what I was telling people, it's like being given an open check. They have told you through the consultative committee, such X ministry, X, all the ministries, by the way, all the government ministries are supposed to have this arrangement. All the districts are supposed to have this, local governments. All MDAs are supposed to have this. All the units. When we talk of units, we are talking about, for example, referral hospitals. We are talking of the municipalities. We are talking of the councils. Oh, they're supposed to have this arrangement. Then what this means is that discuss these things. You don't have actually to, because if it is an issue of ceiling, you can't recruit, understaffing, all this must be addressed under this mechanism. Yes. So what would happen? The Consultative Committee of Ministry X discusses, and now forwards this thing to the National Negotiating Council. The National Negotiating Council discusses, and forwards this thing to the minister, to cabinet. Then that aside, if it is an issue of, for example, dispute, we start from the Consultative Committee, we come to the National Negotiating Council, we go to the Public Service Tribunal, which is already constituted, indeed, and it's in the Ministry of Public Service. Then there, Industrial Court. So you'll find that even in terms of resolving conflicts, we not actually have a lot of backlog. Issues will be resolved. But you find that in our setting, people cannot even look eye to eye in an organization.
So you have said it.
So when you ask them, what is your vision? Nobody is even interested, because so on the X is the executive director. What is your mission? They don't know. That amounts to being in a marriage that you don't know the person you're married.
Honorable.
Yes.
In 1 minute, as I go back to her, and we go to the issue of East Africa Legislative Assembly, my passion, and to the viewers, this is not, I don't have any personal feeling, but it is the reality of the matter. The salary inequalities, public waste, and extravagancy continue to affect and demoralize workers. That's why, to the analysis I have, from time to time, it tends to be causing discontent among the workers, and there you hear this section is on strike, the other time is on strike, and you are our representative who is agitating at least to have a stable workforce, which will not also be happy every other time to hear demonstrations. Don't you think there is a sharp difference and action required to intervene into this matter, as you said, the legal framework? Because it is a concern I feel to raise. I don't know whether you see it in the same lens.
But is it a legal issue, or it is a personality problem?
It is like this. Yes. You are in the Bank of Uganda.
Yes.
Because we are now talking about parastatal organs and the other private, public, sector, the sectors you're talking ministry. You got the public ministry, Bank of Uganda, that's also taxpayers' money. The highest beginning with 50 million, then you go to the middle at the level of like supervisors, they are in 20, then those who are going into lower officer, they are in 15 million. You go to the URA, the same kind of projection I'm giving. You begin talking about, those who are top, the directors, they are in 40 million, 30 million, then you will find the middle officers in 10 million. Then when you go to the local government, I served in local government for around 6 years. My first salary was 350. 350. That was 2004. Not far, too far. And I served, but I would have become a careerist in civil service. Very much, very much interested in public administration. But the more I think I say, let me aim into another direction. It was discouraging. I was not a corrupt person. I couldn't go into swindling government funds for the sake of bringing wealth into my pocket. But sometimes this is causing discontent, and some others who are earning lower, yes, they look at even now I've got this opportunity, let me also eat. How can we solve this social inequality that is bringing a challenge in our country, sir?
I think what is important to begin is with us. It is our problem, and we need solutions. Because I think previously we had talked of a salary harmonization commission, which needs to come into place. But I think one, we need to benchmark. What's the practice? For example, when you talk of the region in East Africa, what's the practice? You will find that even when you're talking of the 50 million, you're talking of the 20, but how about the domestic worker who gets 30,000? The thing is negatively skewed. I think
you're talking about minimum wage.
Joseph and Dorothy, I think, let me tell you, it's like going to a dining. Then you find somebody with a whole chicken. For you, you have a small. Actually, you'll find that your heart will not settle. And I think I equate this to performance. You see me, I've done performance management because I've practiced human resource for quite some time. And I know this. It's smaller things that you think do not matter will have a long-term impact on an economy like Uganda. So it is important to agree and face the reality. Let's have political commitment to ensure that at least we harmonize. Let's actually, because we now need to start with an analysis. Okay, URA is getting more because they are collecting taxes. But how about this person who ensures that at least the production goes on so that we get taxes? Will that person be happy? So I think we need to have a holistic approach.
Thank you for the objective approach to my matter.
You see me, I'm objective.
I was worried that you were going to say that it's...
Now we leave them to do that. No, you see me, Joseph, what I do. And so you get the viewers have one weakness. I don't know, even when we meet in Parliament, NRM, we FDC, let's actually talk the things objectively. Exactly. But the problem, we find that some people behave like co-wives. Even when the daughters has prepared the meat sufficiently, the other one will be sending a knife. To say, you send your father a knife. So that this one is the portrait to have cooked the meat. I think that's the challenge which we have in Uganda. And what I perceive as patriotism is for us to handle issues objectively, tackle them as nationals, and let's actually have a stake. And take, if you are sharing, because in management we say, there is an analogy that failure is normally an orphan, but success has got so many godfathers. Because everybody will want to be attributed. If Joseph, you are here and you have read properly and maybe you are bank governor of Uganda, you'll find everybody saying, that one is our nephew. But if I know him, he's my relative. So people want to be attributed, naturally people want to be attributed to success. So what we need to do as a way forward, Ugandans must come together and find practical solutions.
Uganda must come together and find
the problem is that we tend to apportion blame. Oh, that one has done this. You find that I normally tell colleagues, even in Parliament, oh, this one has done bad. I said, but what would you do if you're there? And what is that you think if you cannot reach there? Tell me and I can take the answers. I can even use the virtual space. But you find that most of the issues we have, you go to our social media platforms. What is there? That's the...
So thank you so much, Honorable. Because you said that you'll be objective, and I again may make this advocacy, and you said the human rights activist, one of your worker and also a human rights activist is in Ruzira. I will desire, that's Dr. Kano Kisa Besige. And he was, also demonstrating because the situation, either he feels bad to him. I will be happy when I hear that you visited him, and I'll be correct the views. And hear what he's saying. I will be happy.
I think it is worth it.
And you get other MP, they go and see this senior citizen.
No problem. Of course, there are mechanisms. And of course, what we need to do is to ensure that at least, you see, these are systems. And in so doing, we really could find a fallback position.
Thank you.
There's nothing that is difficult.
Thank you.
Within our means, we have all the solutions.
Make sure that you also take our voice, even to bring such on the floor of Parliament. Our last area of discussion, which I didn't give much more time, but is critical, is the East Africa Legislative Assembly representation. The reason why I bring this, as we are bringing on our table conventions and, of course, which are at the level of global, we realize that in the wisdom of the framers of the East African Community Treaty and also the East Africa Legislative Assembly Election Act 2011, section, Article 3, they continue to emphasize on the 9 members of parliament that the members of parliament elected under sub-rule 1 shall be as much as feasible represent political parties represented in the National Assembly, shades of opinion, gender, of where the female comes in, and also talks about special interest groups in that partner state, of which one of the interest groups, the workers, you do represent. And again, emphasizes that at least, that is sub-rule 4, at least 1/3 of the elected members shall reflect either gender. Honorable, as we are trying to advocate for the voice of the workers, it is a concern among the politicians, especially looking at now we are in East African community, how the rights of workers and the opportunities that are supposed to be access to workers in a broad perspective be defended, especially through the representation. We would like to hear your analytical view, or maybe your commitment in this. For the last 10 years, over 15 years, workers represented specifically as workers among the 9 members of parliament, especially for Uganda. It has been a generalized way which suffocates our voice. And we have you are our representative. What should be either maybe your commitment towards enhancing this for the voice of workers to be heard in the East African community? She's also here, she's for gender. Rarely has it been found that the 3 women, that maybe the 3 are women, and in the form of gender, much as the previous 2017, there was a trial for that, because the woman, I understand, for independent was a woman, and also NRM also occupied the space. And by the political parties also were not presented. We are dealing with the fair representation. What should be our commitment? And Dorothy, maybe we may give also a commentary briefly in 3 minutes, and the honorable member of parliament also comes in to give us an assurance that the voice of workers will reach everywhere.
For the East African Legislative?
Yes,
EALA?
yes, up to the every level. Even in this African platform, African Union, African...
I would really like to hear what Honorable has to say about this. This is directly, for Policon, this is exactly directly proportional to the political bit.
Thank you. I think what we need to know...
Let me first interrogate you. Do you think, because I'm not fighting for a position or for an opinion to win, do you think it is necessary to have this representation at the level of East Africa for you ladies and also for us workers? Me, I am the vice chairperson of University Academic Staff Union.
Yes.
But we feel there seems to be, you talked about the topic, the fair representation seems to be lacking. What is your view? What do you think should be done? Then you go
Absolutely, it is really in order. It is really in order. But what I'm really looking at is I would like for the political side of it to come in, because we know very well that for somebody to go into the East African Legislative Assembly, there is a lot of politics that goes there. And I wouldn't want to miss this opportunity to hear extensively from the Honorable Member of Parliament.
Okay, give way.
Thank you. I just thank Joseph for the analysis.
Yes, sir.
But I think I would like to say that we have a complete checklist. And this checklist, I think, like you quoted, it is bound by the law. And it's obligatory to all member states. And what happens, I must say I was a candidate in 2016.
Oh, 2016?
Yes.
Okay.
And I tried.
For workers or your general candidate?
For EALA. I started as I contested as workers MP. Then the EALA came, I attempted. But what I would like to say is that even when we look at the current EALA, I think all these are factored in. But the other component is that specifically we are not looking at workers. But workers are a very strong force. Go for it, and then it all depends on lobbying. For example, what I know is that one Bide,
that was general for political party,
is for DP.
Was for DP.
Then Honorable Nakauki, independent. Then NRM as
You have been taking a lot of portion at this time,
Honorable
I think.
Samali, Dennis Namara, we have Honorable Zakulo, we have Honorable Mary Mugenyi, all these are NRM. Then we have Opoka UPC. So I think what's important is, at this point, is that we need to show that, basically, look for the competence that you put as candidates, then the lobbying skills, then what is the current law. You see, even when if we took very many weak ones, I think we may not be able to market and really position ourselves. So it's important about that we just need to position ourselves. For example, if the other particular political party has 5, then you workers should actually integrate and ensure that you're among them. Then at the end of the day, we can. Of course, some concepts are not familiar with in a certain entity. For example, when you go to Kenya and talk about workers MPs, they are not there. When you go to Tanzania and talk about workers MP, they are not there in their parliament. Actually, you find that even those countries are coming here to benchmark.
It is us who have the workers.
Yes, and see how does it work. There was an LOC system when the NRM had just come. I think it is even there now. It used to be RS, now it is LOC. Yes, people have been coming to benchmark and see how does it work. I think it is important to ensure that we benchmark, position ourselves, then look at the checklist in terms of legislation. What is it that we are going for? The mistake we make is that even if it's a business, don't do business because people are doing it. First of all, what's the profitability? What am I going to deal in? Who are my customers? What do I need to produce? And for whom? For which audience? I think these are very important things that we need to analyze. But of course, suffice to mention, we would like to realize that at least. That said, let's see the importance of the integration this time around. Because I think looking around the other day, I was in Arusha. I got an opportunity to address the media. I told them I think the only key determinator is our poverty. Why can't we really let's look at the market. I spoke in Kiswahili, and I think the people were happy. They said, oh, I think you have a point. I think this is what is important. Let's just look at that. And by so doing, we need position, because that should be an addition to us in terms of when we talk of the market, this African market, when we talk of the technology transfer, what are the partnerships we're envisaging. At the end of the day, when we do this, it's not just business. It's not just like a ritual.
Yes.
Yes.
Now I come back to Dorothy. You've not yet gone out from
from the political one.
It's now business.
Okay.
And I will link it to the regional politics.
Okay.
You are supposed, your workers, and even to go in Kenya and open your branches for business management consult. And others who you've been giving maybe advisory services to do business, they're supposed to be business as far as beyond Uganda. And as I will imagine together, I will also, the Honorable will be coming in. These members of Parliament, the 9 of them, they're supposed to be coming back and report to the Parliament. Am I right, sir?
Yes.
And as they report to Parliament, what you talked about, the socio-economic well-being of citizens, you companies, your company, and the way how the businessmen go out to work, and women, to cross the border under the custom union, right, protocol, and labor movement, union also it's something protocol, it is not affected, Honorable. And I would like to hear from you whether you are finding an enabling environment in that integration so that we can be able to move together and support our workers to improve their socio-economic well-being. What do you analyze in that kind of perspective?
Basically, from what the business community out there is saying, these are the challenges really that they are facing as business people. We have people who should be really benefiting from the cross-border trade, but because of one reason or another, we have the differences between countries. We have the cross-border, the single customs union that is a protocol, which is, and all the other real East African community protocols, which are haphazardly really being implemented. There should be political will really from the member states to make sure that these protocols are actually implemented, because they are going to be beneficial to all of us as a group. We have mentioned this several times. The world is really globalized now. Now it is these regional blocks that are actually going to be able to compete favorably.
But, yes, I was seeing the realization of that, Honorable, because for the last many years, at certain time, because I was looking for money too, I just did some business to Uganda. That was 2012. Just one route alone, it just flashed me out. I couldn't go back because the taxes at the border, I had a transaction and it was, open transaction, not black market. It was quite disappointing. And what is called the tax waiver policy, all that couldn't work. We were working also, I had a desire to go to lecture in Kenya. Then I did also lecture in Uganda. But in a certain time, because indeed the sovereign states operate independently regardless of these written documents. And we continue to wonder, when shall we see the realization of what is looking to be good language, soft one, lovely one, but yet the reality is impossible? Honorable, give us.
Well, I think we need to do an analysis. It's not today, but I've been telling people. You see, at times there is cross-border trade. I normally see trucks crossing from Kenya to come and pick watermelon, to come and pick other related products. I think we need to position ourselves. I would urge the government really to cascade the partnership development model to be inclusive, as they are anticipating to do, so that at least we can seize all these markets and ensure that at least as a country, we benefit greatly from this arrangement. You see, the challenge we have, you find that you find people from morning up to evening, people are just doing their own things. For me as an individual, I must tell you, I engage in trade. For the last 30 years, I've been getting some seedlings across even the border. You would find me even decomposing mango seeds to come and remove and make a restock. Then look for my grafting material. And I think that's what we need to do. That's an example. For example, when we talk of dairy, when we talk of fish farming, we have potential here. I think we need to enlist Ugandans so that at least everybody must be strategically positioned to do something.
The strategic
For example, now, when they talked of avocado, the other, I think, His Excellency led the delegation to United Arab Emirates, and they were talking of that commodity. And I think they are talking of some other priority crops and high paying. They are talking of cashew nuts. Uganda has a potential in these areas. So what we need to do is to ensure that at least we rally citizens to engage in such production. Because of course, what I know is that the demand, even the external, the foreign market is very overwhelming.
I have appreciated your input, but there is an unresolved concern here. Yes, of this free labor movement and realization of our protocols signed. We could want to reach, what is our expectation on behalf of the viewers, and myself and maybe herself? We could desire to know whether we have reached our protocol, maybe the borders, you may enlighten us better, like the free labor movement, to go and serve in Kenya, because now we're under East African community. An advert comes in Kenya, I apply, I'm a Ugandan, I get a job. Business contract comes in Kenya, equally here in Uganda, and some they are already doing it, and I apply, I get a job. You go to Procure, you supply your services. All this is the language of integration. But even what you've said is very good, welcome. But the realization, Honorable, is still not done.
Joseph, me, I'm happy. I must say, this guy is a blessing. I came from a polygamous family. So the integration is just as that. You, as household one, of a gentleman called East African integration, first of all, position yourselves. There is no way you're going to tell me you're going to look for raw materials elsewhere when you cannot actually produce them. All this, the integration is okay, but at least individual member states must position their nationals to ensure that.
But I appreciate there's something lacking.
Yes, there's something lacking.
Realizing the
of course, all that stems from commitment from member states. You remember that recently, I think Rwanda has just opened the border. Of course, it is human, but of course we believe at times we say let's pray over it and see that it improves.
Okay,
At times when there are quarrels,
yes,
somebody will say, let's resolve it prayerfully. Then somebody will say, I think I need to take on this. But of course, in the integration has got guiding principles.
Yes,
It has got the guiding Lego infrastructure. But what is important is to ensure that at least one, we do SWOT analysis.
Thank you,
what do we benefit from it as Uganda, as Ugandans?
Thank you, Honorable. We are closing our program right now in the next 2 minutes. And I'd like to hear your last promise to your workers and your last inspiration word.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I think the workers, I want to thank you for entrusting me with the responsibility. I must say I'm one of those people who have implemented my manifesto within the first 1 year. One of the key things was organizing and recruitment, and I thought we could enhance it by providing transport. The other thing is diversifying. I've mobilized them to ensure that at least they form circles. The other thing is skilling. I've already provided industrial machines and want to skill all the workers to ensure that at least...
All over the country?
Yes, of course, we can start with trainers of trainers, then the whole thing can move. So you see, everything starts with a step. If you are going to Rome, don't say, I want to start with 1,000,000 steps. Okay. Start with 1 step, then you can actually move. But what is important is to ensure that, one, we position ourselves to know that all conditions are okay, because the government has put the infrastructure. These days, I think, the other day I was moving from Arua to Kampala. I was on tarmac. The other time I moved, I went to Katakwi. I went to Soroti. I was on tarmac. Then, of course, other things. So the opportunities that are available, we must tap into them.
Thank you so much. We appreciate for your inspiration, especially workers wherever you are, those in business, that utilize the available opportunity, and especially for the infrastructure that the government has tried to work on, not everywhere, but has tried. And also, of course, reminding you that your work as MP has taken a step. If they have not yet reached you, he has a good program. He has talked about skilling and all that kind of formations, unions, and maybe also supporting the circles and ensuring that no work is left behind.
And I have Dorothy here with a lot of
Madam,
money.
Madam Dorothy, give us
I like the
viewers as we conclude.
There's a disclaimer there, Doctor.
Give your last thought to the viewers as we just said.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor and Honorable Byakatonda. So basically, my last word to the workers out there, Doctor talked about, policy. I really like to go about the policy. There's enough policy that we have in Uganda. We have all the answers to make sure that our workers are actually protected, that our workers are actually getting value for their work. So the issue is not about policy. We have all the policies. Like Honorable has said, we even have people coming in to benchmark from the nearby countries. The issue that we really should be focusing on is intentionality. Intentionality as a government and practicability. This is where we should be focusing our agenda, our eyes, and really if we do it intentionally, workers will really be protected and everyone will be happy.
I appreciate you, our dear guests, who have honored this invitation. I am always happy to be with you, and we serve our country in the spirit of patriotism. And thank you so much, Honorable. Thank you, Madam. And to the viewers, we are very deliberate in such a discussion. Work, work, work. But our dear representative, make sure what is not yet complete, that it can be completed, especially the protection of the right of workers, and to ensure that all workers also can have the socio-economic protection for accessibility to opportunities, and also for the accomplished business of ensuring that all over the country, through your initiative, sir, I get an opportunity to again echo it, that we can have many organizations registered, many groupings and unions, so that they can come up with one voice. And also to the viewers and to the Honorable MP, please add another voice. I'm here and I'm ready to represent workers in the East Africa Legislative Assembly. And if you see me in Parliament, make sure that you do a good job.
Oh. You're very able. You're very able.
Thank you, dear viewers. God bless you. And the production sector of our television, Smart 24 television, is the only television that you must watch. Driving Business on channel, GoTV channel 394. God bless you until we meet next time.